Hello and welcome to Crushing Comics. This is the sequential review show from the Comic Crush. I am Mary Jane Watson. She is the tiger who has just hit the jackpot. We're also known as Paul and Liz. Welcome to yet another, hopefully speedy episode of Comics Reviews. I just want to say a quick hello to Brian Bullen, who is our new subscriber. Hello, Brian. Thank you for joining us. We'd love more of you to subscribe and like and share the program. That really helps us out. And do check out the Patreon if you have time. Our Patreon is very cheap. Not that we're very cheap. I mean, you know, I'm worth my weight in, at least lead. What do you think, Les? You? How about you? Go on. Put a price on it.
I don't know. What have I got in my pocket?
If I know you, it's probably some Ricola sweets and some vaping liquid. Now, perhaps one of those small aeroplane bottles of wine. I know you like to keep one of those, Andy. I have got a bit of a cold this week, I'm afraid. So sadly, Liz will have to do most of the talking. If you have any complaints, please leave them in the comments below, and I will send her a strongly worded letter sometime in 2022. Liz, shall we get on with the show?
It's going to be a good week.
Well, for one of us, anyway. Shall we get on with the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good. So Human Remains from Vault. This is a brand new issue one, as all of our comics are, let's face it. This is by Peter Milligan. Written by Peter Milligan, art by Sally Cantarino, I'm sorry, and colors by Devala Kelly, and letters by And World. So Vault Comics continuing their sort of horror onslaught. They do horror comics very well. In case you've not read any of those, they're definitely worth checking out. How do you feel about this one, Liz?
It's very much a Pete Milligan comic.
Definitely.
He always, kind of goes for like these highbrow, metaphors in his work, and likes to touch on kind of contemporary, issues, and he's a very like thoughtful writer, I think.
Yeah, I think Milligan seems to be having this kind of resurgence. Not that he ever kind of went away, but he does seem to have kind of come back with a vengeance lately. He's had so many good books out. In fact, I've got one of his things sitting here, which is God of Tremors, that I've not read yet. I believe that's Mr. Milligan. And I can't rate highly enough American Ronin. That was excellent, blew me away. I'm just going to move my computer back a bit, Liz, because speaking of highbrow, I seem to be enormous this week. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I feel like a little tiny person next to you.
You are a little tiny person. I've met you. No, she really is that big, guys. Sorry. Human Remains. As you say, very kind of thoughtful writer. Peter always comes up with these incredibly high concept ideas and finds a way to convey them like quite effortlessly, I find. Do you know, like his stories aren't simple.
No, it's very cerebral, to be honest. Like, this work is got an interesting kind of concept, which is that it's set in I don't know, is it meant to be a future world, or possibly just alternate sort of take on our contemporary world, where
I kind of took it as a contemporary kind of parallel to our world.
Where basically emotions have been banned for the reason that there is some sort of alien life preying on strong emotions, so it's kind of like reminds me a little bit of the monsters in A Quiet Place.
Sure.
Where if you make noise, then the aliens can find you and prey on you, but if you don't, except, you know, in this, it's just if you're emoting, you know, fear or joy or anything strongly, it attracts these monsters, and a portal opens up and they attack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite get what he's trying to kind of do in terms of
Like metaphor, yeah. I'm not.
yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, no. I was just agreeing with you. Like, you know, I know there is something particular that he's going for, but I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. You know, what sort of, you know, real world sort of phenomenon he's, you know, sort of nudging at.
Yeah, because I think Peter has a really keen. I mean, from the one time we met and sat down and talked to him. Well, I've actually met him a couple of times now, but from the conversation we had with him way back when for Kid
Kid
Lobotomy.
Eternity. Kid Lobotomy, sorry. Yeah.
He's a very politically minded guy. And I think he kind of also fully understands the pitfalls of any one particular political ideal. And I think because he's not a person who will give you necessarily easy answers, he's not going to fall on one side of the camp or the other. So he's not going to go one side or the other.
Right, because you could sort of look at this as like, oh, okay, is he talking about cancel culture, or is he talking about something totally different?
Yeah.
What is it exactly that he's kind of, because as you say, you know, there's definitely some, you know, something political kind of underlying, you know, this concept.
Yeah,
but
sure. You like, he's not a writer who would go in without a metaphor, really. And
right, but it's not explicitly sort of, you know, clear what it is he's trying to say as yet to me.
And I think it kind of reminded me a bit of things like Arrival, in that there's no clear way to communicate. You know, it's said quite overtly, there's no clear way to communicate with the creatures, and therefore there can be no negotiation as such. They're just gonna wipe people out as they kind of feel emotions quite strongly. And I don't know, there's a lot of currency at the moment in being very emotive about things and you know, shouting very loudly. But I can't really tell if he's for or against that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Which is clever because, you know,
yeah.
It's like, you know, I feel like maybe I kind of know what it's about, but maybe not. You know, some of it kind of feels like, you know, the climate where, you know, people feel afraid to talk about their real feelings, or is it that, you know, if you do talk about your real feelings, you know, then you get in trouble for that. You know, it's
and it is interesting to kind of take that approach as well, because I get the sense, you know, looking at things like social media, that actually people aren't afraid to say what they want to say.
Right.
What they're afraid of is the reaction to it. But I think part of being an adult is you can't necessarily say things and not expect a reaction. Right. And so I think there's a certain naivety in both sides of the argument. If you want to go left and right and pick those out as your demarcations, I think there is an incredible naivety in both sides of any argument at the moment, where it's just like, oh, but I didn't expect that reaction. It's just like, but you said what you said, you did what you did, you know. So and again, it kind of speaks to the confusion of modern times, which is you don't necessarily always know what side of the argument. I don't always necessarily know what side of the argument I'm on anymore. Like,
you know, yeah, it's you know, it is, you know, kind of terrain that, you know, you're you know, basically as you say, you know, you could get attacked by you know.
Yeah, sure. And equally, I think we've all got to kind of address our own prejudices as well. And that's something I find myself doing lately. And like, oh, well, actually, do I is the thing I'm saying a negative thing or a positive thing? You know,
Right. It
I mean,
causes you
I'm
to
not the
think,
most
and
positive person in the world. So
right.
I have to kind of,
I mean, so that is kind of what I think, he's touching on here, but I could be completely wrong. It's vague enough that he could be talking about something else entirely, and we'll kind of see more clearly as the story plays out. In terms of this issue, he's kind of just introducing the idea.
Excuse me, I'm very sorry. As I say, I've got a cold at the moment. So sorry.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, it's just kind of introducing the elements of the story. So this is what's happening. It's happening globally. A lot of people want to think that it's a conspiracy at first, until, of course, they then are attacked and eaten by a giant monster.
Yeah. And of course, this is something that's popping up again and again. Like, I was just earlier on today watching the latest episode of Why the Last Man, which is on Disney Plus right now, and that, of course, features, is it all a big conspiracy to wipe men out, or is it this, is it that? And I think there are a lot of people whose first thought is to always cry conspiracy, and actually it's probably not. The world is quite naturally chaotic.
Well, that I felt like was a little comment on like the vaccination stuff,
Right. Okay.
Where it's like, oh yeah, well, that's just made up, and yeah, it's like the government's trying to dupe you, and all that.
I mean, it's very interesting because Peter is a very, like, his last work, or one of his most recent works, as I said, American Ronin, is to do with empathy and emotion, and using and manipulating empathy and emotion. So it's kind of, it feels like they all feel kind of at the moment like a piece, one single piece that are exploring different facets of the same thing. He's also got a book out at the moment called Out of Body, which is to do with dreams. So I feel
Right,
that
there's a
really
theme. There's a theme here,
he's definitely doing some interesting stuff, and I look forward to some of it. I've only got a chance to read the first issues of, and I will dip back in for the trade. But yeah, he's doing some great work. We do have to talk about Sally Centuriano's work on this. The art-wise, it's a very kind of, I think some of it in places almost looks like underground comics. Like there's a certain,
it has an element of that kind of gritty,
and of course Sally did the work on I Walk with Monsters with Paul Cornell,
which is also a Vault comic, right? Or
yeah. And Vault do kind of have this sort of quasi stable of good creators. They do a lot with Ram. Devala is someone they work with a lot, and World is someone they work with a lot. So they've got this great kind of stable of creators they keep going back to, and I really like that. The colors are really good in this. They actually feel, the light in it looks quasi real, and I just really like the use of colors, and a lot of it feels like more like a small press book in a way.
Yeah, I felt that too, but in a like a really good small press book.
Yeah. I don't mean that in a negative sense.
Right. I just
yeah, it obviously is a very professionally put together book. Andwell's letters are really good, as always. Always does a fantastic job of expressing the emotion in the voices. So yeah, good book. Definitely.
Did you pick up on? Oh yeah, worth your time. Sorry to cut you off, but did you pick up on that page with the Back to the Future references?
I'm not sure I did.
Okay, that was weird. Basically, there's a page where you kind of cut to this really horrible scene of this character slapping his girlfriend in the face.
Right. Okay. That's
and like storming out of the house. And he, like it's really weird, and I don't get the context of it at all. But he's like, his like kind of buddy is like, "Oh man, you probably shouldn't have done that." And he's like, "Shut up, Tanner." And he's called McStay, and his girlfriend's called Jennifer McStay. And I was like, "What is this?"
I thought it was
kind of like violent drunk husband Marty McFly. Like, why?
Oh, and actually, if you look at him, if you look at that character, he does kind of look like Eric Stoltz.
He does, yeah, a lot more than Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, and Eric Stoltz, was originally going to play Marty McFly.
Right, yeah.
That's an interesting pickup list. Like, I just genuinely didn't get that at the time. I mean, the name kind of struck me as like, oh, that's a weird name. Like,
yeah, with like Biff as his like, sort of like, like underling buddy, and like, and so I don't know if that's going anywhere, but
yeah, that's very strange. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the book's going, but it's certainly an interesting beginning. There it is right there. Human Remains #1 from Vault Comics. You can pick that up at Gosh Comics or at That's Entertainment
in
Worcester, Massachusetts. If you happen to be in Worcester, Massachusetts.
If you happen to be in Worcester, Massachusetts or nearby.
Yeah. Go on, fly out there and visit Liz. You know you want to.
Yeah, come visit me.
Speaking of going places, heading to Gotham now.
From Fabletown.
Yeah, from Fabletown. Now, this is Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham #1 by Bill Willingham and pencils by Brian Level. Jay Leistein on inks, Lee Lothridge on colors. Yannick Paquette did the cover. Steve Wands did the lettering on this. Now, I've got a confession to make here.
Okay.
This was a crossover that I absolutely did not want.
I don't think that you're alone in that, believe it or not. I think a lot of people who are fans of Fables felt really comfortable with the way the Fables ended, and that it was a finite story that ended, and a lot of people were happy with the way it ended and happy for it to be left alone.
Now, do you know much about the background on this? Because this is apparently a precursor to Fables coming back in 2022. I've still not got to the end of Fables.
Neither have I.
I love Fables, but I'm almost too kind of nervous about seeing it through to the end.
Sure.
I always felt that once it's over, and that's it. And yes, you can always go back and revisit.
I mean, I am well behind on Fables, to be honest. I've only read maybe like the first 12 volumes or something, which is a fair chunk, but like it's got at least 22 volumes, I believe 22, and then maybe some there's always like the crossovers, the Jack of Fables, the Cinderella, the one-offs like 1001 Nights.
Yeah, and annoyingly, a lot of it is now. I mean, they've done the Fables compendiums, which reprint, I think, pretty much all of it. However, some of it has slipped out of print. But two volumes of Fables in particular, which I just can't justify paying £250 for.
Which volumes are those?
I think volume 16 and volume 20 have now slipped out of print completely and are going for sky-high prices.
They'll reprint it.
I bloody hope so. But they have just done the big compendiums. So, yeah, this was a crossover I never really expected. Having read it, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Okay, good. Because obviously, okay, so I don't think I had as much stake in the game due to the fact that, as I said, I enjoyed Fables a lot when I was reading it, but I have fallen so far behind with it, and it's been so many years since I read it that I didn't quite have that like kind of preciousness about it. And that sentimental attachment to like, an ending. So for me, it was just like, oh yeah, look, it's Bigby, cool, and look, he's hanging out with Batman. Oh, even better. Love Batman, love Bigby. They're two detectives. Like, bring it on. But I totally get because like I completely relate to the idea of not wanting to see a character from a book you love kind of brought back.
Yeah.
Especially, and for me, it being a Batman story works great. I'm very happy to read any Batman story, but at the same time, there's the argument like, oh, okay, so just, throw Batman into any book and it'll sell. There is that, sort of element where it's like, oh, okay, well, would they have done this if it was, if it wasn't Batman?
However, that said, I think sometimes us as comic fans, not you in particular or me in particular, but sometimes I think what comic fans want or think they want sometimes hampers the creative, or can potentially sometimes hamper the creativity of comics creators. And there's actually a very good reason why comics creators shouldn't listen to the fans at all, because
right, it's like, yeah, it's what you wanted, really what you want, like, when you actually get it. But in this case, I, again, like, as you've just said that you did, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun first issue. And Bill Willingham has a long history of writing some of those characters. I mean, Tim Drake, he wrote Robin for ages, and you see Steph Brown as Robin.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of. It seems
it is weird. There's 3 different Robins you see, and I believe it's definitely Steph, it's definitely Damian, and then I wasn't really sure which other Robin it was. It looked a little muscular to be Tim, but it didn't really seem like Dick either.
Yeah, the older.
It could be Jason, Tim. Maybe. I was just like, I was a little stumped as to which male Robin we kind of spend the most time with.
Well, there is a book called Robins coming out that is going to feature, I think, all the Robins. And again, there's the Robin and Batman book that's coming from Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen soon as well, which I believe is going to be Black Label.
And which Robin is it?
I can't remember.
If it's Black Label, I hope it's Damian, and I hope it's like, like child assassin Damian.
I don't think it is. It might be Dick, actually. In fact, I think it's set back in sort of year 2 or 3. Okay. But I like that kind of reversal of, Robin and Batman. And
right.
Like that's kind of an interesting thing. And I think the Robins book, I can't remember. I might be getting them mixed up in terms, because they announced them both roughly in the same week. I think the Robins book is the Robins tracking down a sort of mystery original sidekick of Batman's. But I don't know. Back to this one.
Right.
I really love Brian Level's art. I remember talking to Dan Waters recently for Homesick Pilots, last year for Homesick Pilots rather, and he said that he thinks Brian Level is one of the best artists working today. This has this really kind of fleshy, barely contained feel to the art, and the panels kind of constantly invade each other. I really love the art on this. It's a very distinct look. It did remind me a bit of Kelly Jones.
I can see that.
Yeah, and definitely kind of has this, like, you can see it's kind of bridging that gap between the 2 books in a way.
Right. And it's got its own distinct sort of thing going on as well. It's very noir.
Yeah.
All, down to, that, the party that is attended by, all these sort of rich, sort of what would you call them, like almost this secret society type of
gangsters,
crime cabal.
And some of them
that has almost this like kind of 19 like early 20th century look about it,
Yeah.
you know, even
And
though
a lot
you
of
can tell
those,
it's supposed to be set
sorry,
now. Yeah.
a lot of those guys are named after literary characters. Salinger, Faulkner.
Ostrander or no,
Yeah.
who was it? No.
I can't remember his name now. It's
Thinking of
an odd name. Ostergaard.
Ostergaard. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, right. Which leads you to believe that maybe these aren't their actual names.
No, and also does tie in with the literary kind of origins of Fables and the Fables characters. I like it. It's a clever first issue because it doesn't really give you too many answers. I think there's only going to be 3 or 4 of these. So we're getting into this thing at the moment with DC with very, very decompressed storylines for actually quite short stories, which concerns me a little bit, especially with, I don't know if you've read Superman and the Authority.
Not yet. No, I actually am dying to read that, but
yeah, it's good, but it has an interesting trait that we'll talk about off here. But yeah, I really love the book.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I kind of had almost forgotten that it was like Black Label, you know, as I was reading it, you know, and then I was like, oh, so there's just like, you know, lots of gore, like, you know, in those opening pages, and you know, then you know the fight at the end was quite brutal. You know, I like. You know, because you know, in most other ways, it didn't feel like it. You know, it was a particularly sort of, you know, grim and gritty book. Like, you know, it's
sure,
you know, it's very much a murder mystery. With all those classic kind of tropes about it.
It definitely means it's up your alley. I mean, I know you.
Yep, absolutely. With you know, Bigby's presence very conspicuous considering how the victims were murdered.
Yeah. I think since, you know, Black Label is now kind of fully supplanting the old Vertigo stuff, and I think within a year or two, everything that was Vertigo will be rebranded Black Label. I hope Black Label is. Well, I think that's just the way it is, and in some of the more adult DC storylines are being rebranded Black Label. We've already seen it with Killing Joke. Most of the Liber Mayo, Brian Azzarello, Batman stuff. In fact, I think they should just rename it Bat Label because most of it is Batman related. as is most of DC's output at the moment.
Indeed.
Which is either a negative or positive, depending on which way you look at it. I can't decide.
All positive for me. I'm firmly on side.
Yeah, so everything is gradually being rebranded Black Label that was Vertigo. Some of the titles haven't been yet. I think Transmet is still. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how this leads into the new world of Fables. I guess I'll have to hurry up and finish reading Fables.
I mean, if you want to carry on from, you know, wherever it picks up, you know, I'm just gonna wait. Like one day it's gonna be a, you know, rainy day, or actually probably like a rainy month considering the amount of books that I have to catch up on. But yeah, I will read the rest of Fables at some point or other. You know, it's notoriously, I think it's looked at as like, you know, sort of the last real great ongoing series at Vertigo.
Very probably, yeah. I mean, it was an amazing series. And I really enjoyed it, and I like, although I've never quite finished it, that is really just because of time and distractions and other things. It's the series I've gone back to the most out of Vertigo. Like, it's the one I've read like the first few volumes like 2 or 3 times. So I really should get off my fat ass and just read it, or sit on my fat ass and read it. One or the other. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, plenty to look forward to, I think, in the book. I'll be interested to see how it plays out, and see if, on a personal level, my predictions were right or wrong in terms of, is this a book I'm going to really enjoy? Really?
Well, yeah, I have to say, for first issue, I thought, you know, I really did like it. I mean, I think if it, perhaps hadn't been Bill Willingham writing it, if they'd
Sure.
gotten a different writer, it wouldn't have worked so well. But he just feels really comfortable writing both characters.
And to be honest, you really can't knock Willingham as a
You
writer.
can't.
I think he's great. And he was doing 2 major books at the time. Like I think he was doing Fables and Robin at the same time for quite a while, wasn't he?
I don't know what the overlap was there, but I, certainly there was probably some.
Yeah, because he wasn't the OG writer on Robin. I've got a feeling.
No,
it might have been Dixon or somebody.
Might have been Dixon, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of them came on later. But I really like his stuff. I got plenty of Robin in the boxes there that I should dig out and shuffle in some kind of order and read one day. Yeah, that's it for those. I mean, good book. I would recommend picking them up at wherever you buy comics. But if you want to pick them up from Gosh Comics, please do that. Or if you are in Worcester, Massachusetts, you can pick them up from That's Entertainment. Now, just a couple of quick mentions. 10 Years to Death. I was intrigued by this because it is an example of another actor going into comics. Aaron Douglas, who played Chief Tyrrell on Battlestar Galactica. I didn't know what to expect from this. Aftershock, again, have been putting out these oversized one-shots that are similar to the Black Label size. I am a format whore, as I was telling someone the other day, and I love the big kind of floppy sort of Band-Aid Dessiné style. I think it shows off the art lovingly. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it shows off the art.
Right, it does. Which is I really feel I have mixed feelings about that format because while I do think it shows off the art really well, I just can't figure out where to put them. So they don't fit in my comic boxes, but they don't quite fit on my bookshelf either. It's a conundrum.
It's one I'm sure you'll solve with the application of buying a magazine box, perhaps from the place where you work, Liz.
I suppose.
Life's so difficult until you stump down $8 for a magazine box.
Well, I suppose that could work.
I love the format. This, again, curious to read. I didn't know what to expect. It is a ghost story of sorts. It is a nice little creepy fable. I like the way it's told. I don't want to give away too much, so I'm just not going to. But it's to do with a prison, as the title might suggest, and the death of a prisoner. I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think Aaron Douglas perhaps, might have a future in comics, although I'm sure he's busy acting. But he's done some things for Aftershocks kind of anthology stuff before, which I wasn't aware of. The art is really he's based out in Brazil, I believe. It's like a really clean art style. Again, very noiry, great use of kind of shade and shadow. The blow up on this looks lovely. It just looks fantastic. And I'm really kind of keen to kind of see more from Aaron Douglas. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would
based
recommend
on a
you
true
try
story, right? Or
I don't
supposedly.
Really, I don't know. It doesn't say.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Aaron Douglas writing, Cliff Richards penciling, Guy Major on colours, and Dave Sharp on letters. All doing a great job. That's from Aftershock Comics. That's out now. Although I did have a bit of difficulty getting hold of this.
I did not get a hold of this. That's why we're not talking about it on the pod, because well, you're talking about it. I'm not, because we ran out of copies, so no luck for me. So instead, I myself read a book from Marvel. Surprise, surprise.
Yes, and I didn't get this, not because I ran out of copies, but because I ran out of money. It was just a book too far for me.
Fair
And
enough,
of course,
yeah.
because we did a Marvel event last week, I was kind of Marvel evented out, I think. Please, Liz, Darkhold.
I mean, the big, and I should mention too that the real big Marvel event of the week is issue 1 of Inferno, which is the swan song to Jonathan Hickman's.
Is that your
X-Men.
phone going off in the middle of the? Can you not hear that?
Oh yeah, it is. It's on vibrate.
Yeah. Now, I just want to flash you back, guys, to the beginning of the show before we hit record, when I heard a phone going off, and I was told, no, it must be your phone.
I think it was.
But maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, got no proof.
Hopefully that's a comic creator ringing you to say thank you for promoting their books.
I think so. I suspect that's what's happening there. It might be my fellow Massachusetts resident, Steve Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Book. Yeah, he's from Boston.
Really enjoy Steve Orlando stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this is on par with a lot of his other really good stuff. I think that he obviously seemed excited by the concept of and it is a cool concept, the Darkhold. Like,
we are losing you a bit.
Something that I feel like. Oh, okay.
Gone a bit crackly.
Is working?
Sorry, guys.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. We do just seem to have gone a bit crackly. Yeah, go on, give it a go. The image isn't as clear as it was. I am sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to roll with it. I'm afraid. As long as you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to give this one a mention because it is. I think they're introducing the concept probably with the intention of introducing newer readers to the idea of what is the Darkhold. It's something that's like come up in a lot of stories featuring the Scarlet Witch, and unsurprisingly, she is sort of the central character in this book. We already saw in WandaVision, where we leave off with Wanda is that she, is sort of off in self-imposed exile, reading the Darkhold. To give you like a really nutshell version of some of her history with it, it's this ancient book, of like unbelievable dark power, originally created from the flesh of an elder god. And Wanda coming into contact with it, basically she sort of, became tainted by it and, became the pawn of this elder god called Chthon, who, she managed to vanquish, to the underworld. But Dr. Doom, being, the power hungry character that he is, decided to go and find it, and ends up pretty much releasing its power and this vanquished elder god Chthon back into within reach of the people of Earth. And Wanda then, as her only recourse is to not only work with Doom, who doesn't really cooperate very well at all, and assemble a team to defend Earth against Chthon and the power of the Darkhold. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what we get with this issue. She picks an interesting little cast of characters to be her fellow defenders. We've got Black Bolt, Blade, Spider-Man, the Wasp.
I was quite surprised to see Spidey on that list.
I know, yeah.
Like, well, I know, there's probably a commercial reason for.
I can't remember what they were, but they were each meant to represent like these different avatars. Oh, Iron Man is the other one. These different avatars, like the Dreamer, the Stoic, the Guardian, and then there was the Fool.
Did you?
And that's where Spidey
Did
comes
you
in.
volunteer for that one? I'm just with your little mobile phone in hand.
I volunteered you. You got rejected.
I'm sorry. I don't mean it. I don't mean it. Well, if I got rejected, you donut.
Too foolish.
Too late now. Oh man.
But yeah, it was so that's, you know, I was like, oh, okay, this is an interesting assembly of characters like that I wouldn't have ever thought to put together. But
yeah,
but it, you know, it all was a lot of fun. Like it was you know, it was like Doom especially, you know, was great. You know, just being a complete unhelpful jerk.
I do love a bit of Doom.
I love a bit of Doom. And he and the Scarlet Witch have a history.
Right.
Did you ever read Avengers Children's Crusade?
No, I do have it though. It's
okay. So that's where, you know, basically Wanda had been off the map for years, like, you know, sort of post House of M. And that was the book that kind of brought her back. And she was brought back as like Doom's bride. And he had actually been sort of like siphoning off her power and stuff. So they've been like, if not married, then, you know, at least a couple. Right, but she was kind of like, I don't know how, it's been a while since I've read it. I don't know how willing she, you know, if her memory had been wiped or something like that. So,
and you know, like Doom is his own person. He's his own man. And you couldn't always remember that Doom toots as he pleases.
Sorry. Toots his own horn as well, you know, he's got quite the ego.
Would you say it was an event that you would carry on picking up?
Oh yeah, I think I will keep reading it. You know, I'm a big Scarlet Witch fan. I'm a big fan of Doom. You know, I'm interested to see how this plays into, you know, what they're going to do with the movies, because I really feel like this is very intentionally there to like lay groundwork for you know, for people to understand the Darkhold before they start, you know, before they bring it into the films. And I would highly suspect that will happen in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
And it is kind of it's a much delayed book. I think this was originally supposed to be like the tail end of 2019 or sort of somewhere in 2020. And was at one stage pulled completely, like this is never, you know, this isn't coming out. So it's written by
Steve Orlando and art by Cian Tormey, who are you familiar with his stuff?
Yes, I am.
What else has he done? Because I meant to sort of look it up because I was like, this looks so familiar. I'm sure I've read, you know, stuff that he's drawn before. It looks great. I don't actually have my copy with me, unfortunately. But it's, you know, it's just it's, you know, I feel like Marvel have really great artists working for them. It just, you know, it looks great. He draws Wanda beautifully. He draws, you know, every character, you know, just really well. Great action scenes. Like I really liked the look of it. And I meant to sort of look him up before we recorded. So, you know, that I could see what else he's done. But
he's done some great stuff.
After.
I you know, I do have to apologize, guys. I have a terrible recall for names, faces, and you know what work they've done.
I usually don't,
just because I know you're actually really good. I mean, I you know, I think post-COVID, it's a real mess up here now, and I just can't. I can't always.
Post-birth, it's been a mess up there.
I don't really think that you're one to be throwing those kinds of insults around. Really, to you. Yeah, so I can't always. I don't have the encyclopedic recall that I used to have. I mean, I'm finding the same with film now, you know, which is my real kind of true love is movies, and it's the same there. Like it doesn't come as fast as it used to. Hey, we've all got to get old, eh? But look, it's been a great week for comics. It's been a very interesting week in terms of the kind of indie material that's come out. Would you like to see more indie books on the show? Let us know. Would you want to see more DC or Marvel on the show instead? Let us know. Just leave us a comment below. If you've got anything you want to say to us, anything you want to talk about, you can scream at me on social media at Comic Crush Paul. You can tell Liz how wonderful she is on social media at Liz C. Jordan. You can follow the Comic Crush at the Comic Crush on social media. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook or find the Comic Crush on Facebook. Most of all, do check out the website. There's new comic stuff on there every week. There is going to be a lot of movie stuff in the next sort of week or so on the Comic Crush, because we do try and cover genre movies as well. So you can hopefully expect Bond sometime around Saturday or Sunday. We'll have a review with our good buddy Keith Isles coming on to do that. You know, Bond is one of his favorite film franchises, and he's certainly looking forward to doing that. Dune in the next couple of weeks.
Are we doing Venom too?
We should try and do Venom, really.
Yeah, our last Venom podcast was memorable.
Not for me. I fell asleep. You can find that particular episode on the Frame by Frame archive, which is somewhere on the website. I'm going to try and make it more obvious. Still one of my favorite episodes because I had a blissful sort of 10 or 12 seconds of a nap there while Liz was banging on about some Venom comics she once read.
Some great Venom comics. Very good stuff.
Yeah, so Bond, Dune, The Green Knight will hopefully get a written review in the next few days now that that's on Amazon Prime. So yeah, I mean, but don't be disheartened. I'm not turning an eye back on comics. There is, a lot more comic stuff to come too.
And this show will continue to air.
Yes, weekly. Definitely. In October, which is tomorrow, I think. During October, we're going to be doing some horror stuff. Myself and Nikki have decided that we're just going to go all out horror. And in fact, I'm going to chat to Liz briefly when we end this broadcast about something in particular, a little special episode we're planning on doing. But yeah, we're going to be doing some horror stuff. Keep an eye out for that. Hopefully that'll all come off. It is, of course, subject to my ailing health. I feel like crap this week, and of course time and everything else that's happening. But do join us every week for more comics chaos. This has been Crushing Comics. I have been Paul. She has been Liz and her mobile phone. It's been a pleasure. Kind of.
For you.
But one that I'm glad is now coming to an end. Goodbye, Liz.
Bye.
We'll catch